Assalamu alaikum. How are you? If I ask you what is oral presentation, how would you define this oral presentation? What is different between oral presentation and other aspects of oral communication? Oral presentation, as we discussed in the previous lecture, is an act of communication in which there is one speaker who is giving information, who is speaking, and there are lot of listeners who are receiving this information. So whenever this type of communication, oral communication, is taking place, we say that it's a type of oral communication. It's a oral presentation. Oral presentation, as we discussed in the previous lecture, is different from other types of communication. For example, face-to-face communication, it may be a telephonic communication. It's different from, oral presentation is different from these types of communication. The most important thing, the most important difference between this communication and those communications or acts of communication is that for oral communication, like face-to-face, telephonic, you need not make any preparation. But when you are going to engage in oral presentation, you need to prepare yourself. You need to make a lot of preparation. So in the last lecture, we discussed 3 steps of oral presentation. The planning step, the planning oral presentation. Here, the most important thing is that what is your purpose? And we discussed different types of purposes. What were they? Yes. The purpose may be to inform. You want to inform some audience. The purpose may be to motivate. The purpose may be to motivate, to persuade, etc. Besides knowing your purpose very precisely, concisely, accurately, and whatever, the most important thing in an oral presentation is, as I discussed, is knowing your audience, because you have to tailor your message according to your audience. So if you do not know your audience, you are not going to make good oral presentation. We discuss in detail that how we can know our audience. You have to think of the size, you have to think of the formation of the audience, their educational background, their gender and their size, their any social grouping, whatever. Anything that can precisely tell you about them. So in planning steps, you do 2 things. You determine your purpose and you know your audience. So after having known these 2 things, you switch over to the next step. In next step, you start writing. So when you start writing, a lot of things come to your mind, like what is the main idea. So you think of the main idea. You think about the style. You think about the approach. Another thing that you keep before yourself when you are in the writing stage is the duration of the presentation that you are going to give. Either it's going to be a short presentation or it's going to be a long presentation. So here you will be discussing the scope of your presentation. So After you have gone through these two stages of presentation, you switch over to the next step, and that is completing your oral presentation. As you have seen that this is an act of oral communication, but we are dealing with it as if we were dealing with any written communication, because as I said to you, it is a very sensitive act of communication. It's different from other types of oral communication. So it needs preparation, needs careful planning, the way we make careful planning when we are writing messages. So when you come to this third stage of completing oral presentation, here first of all you evaluate the content of your oral presentation. This step is very important. A lot of time you have an idea and you brood over that idea, think over that idea, and then start writing it down. But you were just in a phase of thinking, and you just simply were writing. But when you have finished writing, you come to this evaluation stage and you check your contents. A lot of time it happens that after you have written something, when you look at it, at the thing in a very evaluating way, you find that it does not suit your purpose. It does not fulfill your purpose. So you have to be very critical at this stage. You have to evaluate your presentation before going or before taking it to the audience. We'll be discussing a lot of ways of handling this stage, but reading aloud can be very helpful. Or another way can be you read and ask somebody to listen to you and give you some feedback, so it can be very helpful. So you have to evaluate the contents, all the information that was necessary for your purpose to fulfill. You will check everything in it. Then you will edit for conciseness and clarity. This is another point of it. Checking your presentation for clarity is very important. We have gone through the rules of communication, the principles of communication, and we have in-depth studied this rule of clarity, that what is clarity, how can we achieve clarity, and if any piece of writing is not clear, how it can be ambiguous for the listener and ununderstandable for the listener. So the first thing to be sure of the clarity is to read aloud and see whether you understand what you have written. Sometimes we have very complex thoughts in our mind, and we may feel that we have some sort of clarity about those thoughts, but in reality the situation is different. So when we have written those thoughts into words and read them to us or to somebody, we can know the amount of clarity that our writing has. So you must edit your presentation for clarity and for conciseness. Obviously in a presentation we do repeat something. In any oral communication, for the purpose of emphasis, we do repeat some things. But what I'm saying here is rather different from it, that you have to edit for clarity and conciseness. Conciseness means that, you see, if you are not repeating one thing twice, number one, and another thing is that maybe you have written a longer sentence and same thing can be said into a shorter sentence. If you remember, you must recall those discussions when we were dealing with principles of communication, and we had a lot of examples regarding this, that how we can bring conciseness to our messages without sacrificing other C qualities like clarity and like completion, etc. So here first you have to evaluate the content of your presentation, and then you have to edit your presentation for clarity and for conciseness. Then you have to develop some visual aids and to coordinate those visual aids with your presentation. This is a very important aspect. Visual aids can be very helpful. I'll see that if we have time left, because as I told you, we still have 2-3 very important topic, and I would like to deal with those topic, and if I find that I have time, I may discuss these, how to prepare visual aids, etc. But they are very easy, and you can just do it them yourself. So what I was discussing, you develop your visual aids. What type of visual aids you need to include into your presentation? How do they helpful? And at what point of the presentation? This is what coordination is. At what point of the presentation you need to include them? So this is very important, that you have written, you have evaluated the contents, you have edited for clarity and conciseness, and now you develop your visual aids and then coordinate those visual aids with your presentation. So at completing stage you are doing these things. But beside these things, beside evaluating, besides editing, and besides developing these things, there are 4 other steps that are very important. Number 1 is mastering the art of delivery, preparing to speak, and then overcoming the anxiety and handling the question responsibly. So these 4 points are very important. So we begin with mastering the art of delivery. When you are going before the audience, you are delivering your presentation. There can be many ways in this regard. Now, one of them is memorization. Memorization is one way of delivering the presentation. In memorization, basically what you do is you simply memorize your whole presentation. Remember that it may be very easy to memorize a short presentation, but it is certainly very difficult to memorize a long presentation. And if you are relying on your memorization, in that case, if you forget anything, the whole presentation is going to be skipped off from your mind. So memorization is a difficult choice to adopt. Only trained actor can do it. So if you have training in this regard, though I know that some people are very good at memorization. During my teaching career, I have observed, I have experienced a lot of people, students who have very good memory, and they can learn anything word for word. But what is the difference between learning this type of material word for word and learning a presentation word for word? Is something different from one another. And this difference is that in presentation you have to emit non-verbal cues as well. But in other type of memorization, for example, if you are memorizing any question, any subjective question of 200 words, 300 words, in production of that, you do not have to make any non-verbal cues with it. So if you will be adopting the same method there, it will be a very wooden presentation, and it would create monotony, boredom into your audience. So unless you are trained in this regard, never go for this type of delivery, that is memorization. Another type of delivery is extemporaneous. Extemporaneous is the method of delivery which is very carefully planned and practiced. In this, speakers makes a presentation with the help of outline, note cards and visuals. So what he is doing is that he is reading from the outline, at the same time establishing an eye contact with the audience, so which is very important. So you may use note cards or you may use visual aids. Visual aids can be very helpful, and nowadays they are easily accessible in all the organization where presentations are given. Visual aids are always there. So visual aids can be very helpful. In that case, you only need to learn the beginning of your presentation, and you can go with the rest of your presentation with the help of these visual aids. But if you are going for outline, you are writing them, all the outlines on the paper. But instead of writing a paper, it's better to use note cards, because if you are having a paper, and as you will see that in the beginning of your presentation, you will certainly be nervous. Unless you are a very expert presenter, you are destined to be nervous. So from the paper, the audience can easily notice your nervousness. But if you have note cards, they are smaller and they are kept with a tight grip. So it's better to use note cards. Another type is reading. In this, you have written your presentation on any paper and you just read it the way you read a book. But as every presentation needs a rapport with the audience, this type of presentation also needs it. So it's good if you make a good reading practice and prepare yourself at certain points to have an eye contact with your reader. This method is also not very attractive. It's wooden, but it's very helpful in case of a complex topic. If you have a very complex topic and you have to give a lot of statistics to your audience, so then it is very helpful. In that case, you can rely on this type of delivery. So you have written all the material and you are reading. But even then, it's better that you must have practiced the reading, so that at certain points you could have eye contact with your readers. Normally, speaker use a TV script, a page that is equal to a TV script, in which 1/3 of the page is left, especially at the left side, for writing any notes. There are wide margins into it, and any pronunciation or any instruction that is important for you, especially of having an eye contact with your audience, is written at this point. So this is another type of delivery. Next to it is impromptu. Impromptu mean a speech made without any preparation or made on the spur of the moment or of the cuff. So whenever you are asked in any situation to make a speech like this, think a little and then start saying something. If you are nervous, it's better that you must take few deep breaths and think of the topic and then say. Obviously, in such situation, you have any topic before you, so start slowly picking up any point from the discussion made by some other speaker, and then you give your opinion. Beside this, it's better to be ready for such an opinion. I mean, in your working life, at workplace, you come across certain situations. You attend certain programs in which you are asked to give your opinion, and you are not prepared for it. But whenever you are going for any such occasion, keep it in your mind that you may be asked to say something. So if you think beforehand about this type of situation, you will be more confident. So these were different types of delivery methods. You can choose any method that suits your needs. It can be memorization, it can be reading notes, it can be impromptu, or it can be memorization. But as we've explained that what each is, in memorization what you are expected to do, and in impromptu what you are expected to do. So we were talking about 4 aspects. So first was mastering the art of delivery. So you have seen that to master the art of delivery, you have these certain choices. Then comes preparing to speak. Preparing to speak, that you have to think that you have learnt your presentation and now you are going to speak. In preparing to speak, you have to know your material and practice your delivery to build your confidence. The more you practice, the more confident you will be at the time of the delivery of the speech. So know about your material very carefully. Make sure that the location that you are going to be in is appropriate, and you have everything that you need. For example, if you need any projector, if you need any multimedia, if you need microphone, if you are using chalkboard, all those things, these are very important parts of the presentation. You have to think of the seating plan of the audience, how they are going to sit. Although in some situation it's not possible. For example, if you are being asked as a guest speaker to make a speech, in that case you cannot think of the seating plan, but just make a picture of the seating plan. In your practical life, you come across certain situation in which you can which can help you in giving you a mental picture about the seating plan, that normally what seating plans are available at the workplace. So if you think of the seating plan, it will give you confidence. You can think yourself, you can picture yourself making presentation before an audience. So when you picture yourself in this way, this can be very helpful. Similarly, if the preparation is your own or is within your office, then it's very easy to check all these things. As I just tell you, you know that whether you are going to use a multimedia, or you are going to use a projector, or you have a microphone or not, or any chalkboard or other things, all these things. But if you are going somewhere else, so you do ask those people who are making the arrangement that you need these things. So when you know that all these things are available, they will certainly enhance your confidence. So be sure about these things. Then in some situation, especially if you are going to speak before an audience who does not know your language, in your working life such situation comes in which you have to address to people who do not understand your language. So in that case, it's very important that you make arrangement for any interpreter. So it's better to send a copy of your presentation to him. When you are using an interpreter, it's better that you must speak slowly, so that he could listen to you and then he could translate to you in that language. Another important thing regarding preparing to speak is to take care or to take into account any cultural differences in appearance, mannerism, or other customs. These are also very important, and we have spent 2-3 lectures on understanding intercultural communication. You must have by now learned that how important this aspect is. Knowing your mannerism, knowing other aspects of the cultures are very important. So be sure that you know all these things. Whenever you are in a foreign situation and you are not familiar with all these things, it's better to ask some of the person of your acquaintance about the mannerism, the dress code, and especially know about the audience. That is also very important. So when you are preparing for speak, you have to take care of all these things. You have to know your material, you have to practice your delivery, you have to make sure that all the arrangements are made properly. You have to think of the seating plan, or to make sure that how the seating plan is going to be. You have to go for other things like projector, like transparencies, etc. And if your speaker, if your listener do not know your language, you have to arrange or ask for the arrangement of any interpreter. And when you are using an interpreter, what are you going to do? You are going to send him a copy of your presentation in advance, so that the gentleman could be familiar with it. And at the end of this, when you are preparing for your speech, what you have to do is you have to take into account all those cultural differences that are there between your culture and your audience's culture, and any mannerism that is there, or any other customs that make any difference. So when you are preparing to speak, you have to take care of these things. So mastering the art of delivery, preparing to speak, and then comes overcoming anxiety. Anxiety, a state of restlessness. If you are nervous about facing an audience, or if you are experiencing any stage fright, don't think that you are alone in it. All the great speakers have accepted this reality, that even after being that much experienced, they still have this in the beginning of any presentation, any speech. So if you are nervous, you feel that you have some churning in the stomach, you feel your hands sweating, your forehead perspiring. So if such things are happening, these are not some new things, and you are not the only one who is experiencing all these things. All the speakers do have these things. But like a good speaker, you need to overcome this sense of anxiety. And to overcome this sense of anxiety, first of all, you have to prepare your material. It is always suggested, especially for the new presenter, that they must prepare more material. I mean, one of fear is that maybe you end your presentation before its natural end. So if you are confident that you have enough material to go about, you can very easily handle your presentation, and you feel confident. If you are not sure about any pronunciation of your words, it's better to write the pronunciation on any piece of paper. If you are using note cards, write them down. If you are using a paper for reading, just do it, then do it. And if you are engaged in any off-the-cuff, impromptu type of delivery, in that case, avoid using those words about which you are not confident. So you can be confident in this way. Similarly, to be more confident and to overcome your anxiety, you can write anything that is important that you fear you might forget on the note card or the paper, or underline it, or underline the important ideas. Then rehearse it. Rehearsal can be very helpful. Rehearsal can be in different ways. For example, you can rehearse before a mirror. It's not to smile. I mean, it's a very practical way of improving your oral presentation skill. Those of you who are shy or tongue-tied, who feel that they cannot talk before people, if they rehearse anything before a mirror, they feel that they have immense amount of confidence. It develops their confidence to a greater degree. So this way can be very helpful. You can rehearse anything before a mirror. So you listen to your voice and you become familiar with it, and you feel very confident when you go before an audience and make your speech. Or you can seek the help of anyone, and your friend, your colleague, and you can ask them to listen to you and then give you feedback. So rehearse to overcome your anxiety. Another thing is to think positively. Normally when you are to make any presentation, what happened is that you have a fear of it, and you feel that you won't be able to make it, you may forget it, or you may not be able to face the audience or anything like this. But if you are picturing yourself in such a way that you are talking to the people very confidently, the way you want to, it can be very helpful. So this is what we mean by think positively. So before going to a presentation, picture yourself in the presentation, think yourself as if you are making a presentation. So this can be of immense help to people who are going to make their first presentation. Beside these things, there are certain other ways to overcome your anxiety and to feel more confidence, to bolster your confidence. One of them is your body language. Stand rather than sit when you are delivering your presentation. Obviously not giving your lecture. I'm giving it while I'm sitting. But when you are going to give your presentation, you must stand erect. So you should face the audience. Beware of any repetitive hand gestures. Sometimes you make some gestures which are not liked by people or your audience. So beware of these repetitive hand gestures or any awkward mannerism. The way you are standing. Sometimes people stand in a very awkward way. So see yourself from the outside and from the inside. It's very important to build up your confidence. So know your body language. You have to stand. You have not to repeat any hand gesture or to adopt any awkward mannerism. Another thing is your voice quality. Your voice quality is another way of emitting your confidence, the level of your confidence. The way you speak tells your audience that whether you are confident or not. Especially when you come to the end of the sentence, don't drop your voice. It's very important that you just keep a pitch. If you use a different intonation into your voice, it will make your presentation more interesting. I mean, intonation, obviously it's a very technical term. Rise and fall of the voice. Normally we discuss a lot about intonation in English, but here you can understand it by simply this meaning that intonation is the sentence stress, that where you have to stress in a sentence in the beginning to which word you are going to emphasize. So you must know that which words are to be emphasized and which are not to be emphasized. they will certainly increase the effect of your presentation. So be very particular about your voice quality. Don't speak too much fast, don't speak too much low, and keep using an intonation, rise and fall of your voice. And especially, as I said, don't drop your voice at the end of your sentences. When you drop your voice at the end of your sentences, they show that you are not confident. The sentence becomes inaudible, and in this way your presentation does not give a very good effect to the audience. Then visual aids. You must use your visual aids very confidently. I told you in the beginning that you have to coordinate your visual aids with your presentation. So you must know that when you are using those visual aids, give time to your audience to absorb the information that the visual is giving to the audience. So give them some time to absorb the information. Then beside these things, a few other things can also be very helpful, and they can be very helpful in overcoming your anxiety, and they relate to language. First of all is simplicity. We've talked a lot about simplicity. Use short words and sentences that are comfortable with. So there is no benefit in using difficult language. When you are going before the public, always think for simple word, short sentences. Never go for any difficult vocabulary. Think for clarity. Use active verbs, active sentences, concrete words which are clear and easier to understand. And don't use passive verb or abstract concept. So when you think that you have to use active sentences and you have to use concrete words, you will certainly be avoiding passive sentences and abstract words. Another thing is avoid using jargon. In your organization, you must be using certain words, but maybe your audience is not familiar with it. So never go for any such word which are simply known by a certain group of people. If you are using acronyms, so it's better that in the beginning, the first time that you are going to use acronyms, you must read them clear as full words, telling the audience that this acronym stand for these initials stand for these words. Then another thing that can be very helpful is signaling. Signaling is something that indicates when you have completed one point or section in your presentation and are moving on the text. Give your audience clear signals as to the direction of your presentation. For example, when you are going to switch over from one point to another point, do tell it to the audience using a certain signal. When you are listing something, use signals, firstly, secondly, thirdly, etc. We'll be having certain signals. At the end of this topic, I do want to read some signals, and I do want to read one to presentation, so that you may have a very clear, concise idea of what a presentation is. Obviously, it's not a very long presentation, but certainly it will give you an idea of what a presentation should be. So after that, we come to the next phase, and that is handling question responsively. We have completed giving our presentation. We have gone through all the steps that we listed in the beginning, and now we have completed our presentation and we come to the question answer session. Remember that whenever you have a question, it gives you a chance to obtain important information about your topic. So this session is very important. The question answer session is very important. It gives you information about your topic, that how your audience have understood this topic. So it helps you to emphasize your main idea and supporting ideas. So whenever a question is put, it gives you enough space to to repeat your, to maintain, to emphasize your main idea and your supporting ideas. Beside these, sometimes it happens that you maybe in your audience there is someone, or maybe in some cases the whole audience is against your topic. They have whatever you have given in your presentation is contrary to their thought. So you may face a hostile audience. Treat hostile question as a legitimate request for information. That makes a difference. You see that you can see one thing from two angles. One is positive and one is negative. Maybe the question that is put up to you is a negative question, but if you take it as a negative question, what are you going to do? You are going to answer it in a negative manner, and that is just going to mar the whole effect of your presentation. And in this way you will never be able to make a mark of your thoughts, yourself, and whatever planning you have before you. So take your hostile question as legitimate request for information. It means that the people want to know more about your topic, and they still want to make some certain adjustment between what you have said and what they already knew. Maintain professionalism to improve your credibility. Obviously, if you lose your temper, you will lose your professionalism. So focus on the questioner. Let him feel that you are not attentive. Whenever you are listening to a question, use your body language to emphasize the fact that you are listening to him. This is very important. Your concern, which is being given this body language, will certainly impress the questioner, and instead of going hostile, he may start feeling positively. So you have to maintain your professionalism. And how you can maintain your professionalism? By giving attention to your questioner. And how you can give your attention to your questioner? By using your body language to emphasize that you are listening to him. Keep your answers short and to the point. One way of, especially when you are dealing with some question which are hostile, you feel that the audience or that questioner has a different bent of mind, must use your answer short and to the point. Maintain control by stating some ground rules in the beginning of question and answer session. So whenever you answer a question, think of some ground realities, ground rules. Obviously they will strengthen your answer. Respond unemotionally. This is the key of the whole. Never think that you have to impress each and every member of the audience. That is not possible, especially in that case when you are going to have some new idea, you are going to discuss some new idea. Give them time. Not necessarily all the members of the audience agree with you at that very moment. Maybe some have taken time and they may reconsider your idea later on. So give them time. So when you will answer them unemotionally, they will not have any negative effect of your behavior, and they will still give you time to your thoughts. Motivate the question. Maybe you come across such a situation in which people are not very willing to put up question. In that case, you yourself can put up certain questions. So motivate the question and complete your presentation the way you started your presentation. Don't just leave the podium or the lectern at once. When you have completed your presentation, just complete it very confidently. Pick up your papers or pen or anything that you have put on the lectern, and then look at the room, the hall, the room, all around, and then very confidently move from the lectern to the chair or at the rostrum or wherever you were sitting before the start of the presentation. So you have to give them this this feeling that you are a very confident speaker. So these were few things that must be realized when you are dealing with completing your presentation. You must have seen that you have to gone through a lot of steps at this stage, at the stage of completing your presentation. Remember that a good presentation is one which is a very well prepared presentation. Very few people make good presentations for the first time in their life. Most of the people have their experiences, some very interesting experiences when they made their first speeches. A lot of people who later on in their life became very great speakers, very worldwide renowned speakers, relate the instance of their first presentation or oral presentation in which they just fumble or they just experienced a lack of confidence or anything else. By and by we learn. We all learn by and by. But this by and by should be accompanied by preparation. So if you want to be a good speaker in your life, what you need to do is you need to do a lot of practice. Practice makes perfect. There is no alternative to it. You may have some very good natural qualities. You may be born with some qualities, but even then, for a good presenter, you need to make good preparation. Let's look at a very short presentation which can give you an idea that how a 10-minute presentation can be. So we have a presentation on cell phone. It can be on any topic. So what you do is you have to welcome everyone when you go in the beginning, mention handouts, graphic if there are any, introduce the subject of the presentation, outline the purpose and structure of the presentation, present some statistics, tell a personal anecdote. Every good speaker does have a personal anecdote just to infuse interest in the audience. Sum up the statistics and their significance, comment on the market trends, outline the major benefits of the new cell phone models, invite questions, sum up the main benefits of the new cell phone machines, thank and conclude. So you can see that this presentation is a very small one. It just has 12 points, the way you are to make presentation. I lead you one presentation, but not today. In the next lecture, I want you to be very familiar with presentation. We will certainly be discussing some signals because they can be very helpful in your practical life, in your working life. Your oral skills can guarantee your success in your working life more than your knowledge of statistics or any other thing. Because if you can speak, it can attract people towards you and you can tell that you have something. So you must spend some very good time on improving, enhancing your oral skills. So today we have discussed some more aspects of oral presentation. In the previous lecture we discussed planning step, we discussed writing step. Today we have discussed completing oral presentation, and you have seen that beside evaluating, editing and developing visual aids, you need to know the art of delivery, you need to prepare yourself for speaking, you need to know how to overcome your anxiety or fear, and you need to know how to handle the question responsively. So these are the things that we have discussed today. With this, we end up this session of today. I will be discussing some new things regarding this oral presentation in the next lecture. Until then, Khuda Hafiz.